Okay, and then could you go live on YouTube? Okay, we're good.
A pencil holder? I think that's what.
Okay, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Light Movement. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about what makes a professional artist. So if you missed our last episode, go and check that out. We talked all about exposure equals freedom and how being transparent liberates you as an artist. So I'm super excited to get to today's topic. But first, as always, we're going to do a right brain challenge. So Ellie, do you want to explain what the challenge is?
Yeah, so we are going to activate our right brain, which is dangerous right before a podcast.
Yeah.
And these exercises are really good to do before you, it's almost like before you work out, doing a warm-up or something.
Mm-hmm. Like stretching.
Yeah. And so it's good to get into your right brain. Or if while you're painting, you're struggling and you hit kind of a roadblock and you can't figure out how to fix your painting, or you start getting frustrated, or that inner critic kind of turns on and starts talking to you, you can stop and do a right brain exercise. So we're all going to dance. No.
No, we're going to sing this time.
Backwards.
Only if
we're going to
there's
sing
music.
backwards.
Yeah, while somebody hums the ABCs backwards.
You could beatbox again.
I'll beatbox while we doodle.
All right, now we're getting weird. Okay, so
it's a pre-right brain activity.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is the three of us are gonna collaborate. You don't have to collaborate though. You can collaborate, or you can just do this by yourself. But the three of us are going to doodle on this piece of paper. And we're going to kind of start by scribbling, and then in the scribbles, just doodle whatever we want and not think about it. That's the key. And don't stop your pencil. Mm-hmm. You got it. Because if you just sit there and start thinking about it, then you're not in your right brain.
So can you do like words, or is it just like shapes, lines, whatever?
Yeah, don't do words.
Okay.
Words
all right. I'm
is
just
left brain. Jake.
What about numbers?
If
I
that's
mean,
what you're thinking about.
If you repeat, like, you could repeat like nines, like a pattern. You're thinking too hard.
You're thinking, Jake.
You
I
are like,
because honestly, right now I have no idea. Like,
well, wait. Do we want to collaborate, or do we want like my spot, your spot,
Let's
and then we can
collaborate.
compare, or
Oh.
should we collaborate?
Okay. Well, first, how long are we going to do this for? 2 minutes?
2 minutes? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's just see
What happens?
what happens.
All right.
All right. Dino, could you make sure to zoom in on the paper?
Okay.
Thank you.
Ready, set, go.
Okay.
Violating.
Wow. Thank you. Beautiful.
Ellie starts big. I don't know. I'm feeling the urge to stop and think about what I'm doing, but
Same, actually.
I think holding the pencil really funny is a good way to help too.
It's very relaxing. Oh my gosh. I guess my drawing is really tiny.
Man, we should have had Freezy here for this special guest.
No, he will just make all of ours look like garbage.
Yeah, I'll get intimidated. Then my left brain will kick in.
I would just probably start copying him is what I would do.
Be like, all right, Freezy, lead us.
I'm having fun.
Okay,
Do we have to stop?
Yeah, the timer just went off, but let's
I
give
don't
ourselves
really
like
wanna-
a little bit more.
It's probably boring for everybody else. It's fun for us, but
We filled up this page very fast.
All right, let's stop. Cool. Well, that's fun.
yeah.
Here, can we? Do you guys want to hold it up over there so we could get a close up of all the action? So
Is that an Easter egg?
I'm feeling. Where, right here?
Dinosaur egg? Yeah, what is that?
I don't know. It's a right brain drawing. That was fun in the
Mine
beginning.
are all organized.
Jason, I'm sorry. Yours reminds me of your brother Marcus. That's literally all I think of.
Just so you all know, my little brother Marcus is 9 years old, so
And he likes fart
that's
jokes.
fun. Yeah. He's actually starting a clothing brand about farts. It's called Marcus's Boutique, so watch out for that, guys. And that is spelled booty Q, so. Okay. Well, how are you guys feeling at the beginning of that? I felt like almost like intimidated, by
Yeah.
like I was like, okay, I want to make something cool. We're on camera right now. We're live on YouTube.
Yeah.
How can I make something cool? Then I was immediately like, screw cool, scribble.
That's cool. That's like your exposure equals freedom.
Yeah. That was a good podcast, that last one.
I don't know. I felt pretty like I just went right into it.
Mhm.
Yeah, same.
Okay, so we did this drawing because this is what it takes to become a professional artist, and the podcast is over, so. I'm just kidding. Okay, so let's get to the topic of the day. What makes you a professional artist? Okay, so I guess the biggest distinction to make then is in order to understand what a professional artist is, you kind of have to understand the difference between that and a hobbyist or an amateur. So do you guys both have an answer for that or something in mind? Dimitra, why don't you
Yeah.
go first?
So, just I think the difference between an amateur and a professional, it's a lot of different things, but basically, like, professionals treat it as a job, like going to your studio, creating art, and doing that all day long, or at least 4 to 6 hours a day, you're dedicating to your art. I think it just shows that you are treating it like a regular job and it's your business, and then you spend other hours of the day working on your business, just thinking about how you can push it further, get more people to see it, and to connect with people. There's so many different aspects to just being a professional artist other than just painting. There's all these other things you have to be thinking about, and the main thing is you have to treat it as your own business, and like you're the owner and you're your boss, and you have to go to work. You have to do it. You can't just paint like an amateur would just paint, one painting a month, or not even, maybe one painting every few months, and then complain that it's not selling, or I don't know, like they don't think of it as like an actual job, and like in order to be successful you have to spend time at it like every day.
Yeah. What about you, Ellie?
Yeah, I think the same thing. It comes down to are you doing it to earn money? And that might not be the sole motivator. You might be motivated to do it because you feel like it's your purpose. But if you're doing it professionally, then you're doing it with this sort of built-in accountability to the buyer or the consumer or the market, or this sort of
building a brand.
Yeah, but it's like you're on the outside, then there's this, like art world or construct of a industry, and then you enter that industry, and now you're a professional. When you're motivated and your choices are motivated by, the need to succeed within that industry and earn money from what you're doing. And I think a hobbyist doesn't care much about the industry. They're much more independent of that. They might even happen to sell their artwork occasionally without even trying, but they're mostly motivated just by
Just
wanting to
having
make
fun.
art,
Yeah.
have fun. They have different motivators. So I think that, and I don't think, like it's bad to be a hobbyist if that's your goal. What is bad is when you want to be a professional, but you act like a hobbyist.
Or you settle
and
for
your actions are that. If you go into it just like, I don't care if I ever sell anything or not, it's not my objective. My goals are to just produce really good art. It's cathartic. I enjoy it. It makes others happy. That's what I want to do. But it doesn't matter to me if it to function within that art industry construct. I don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Do you guys think that you could be a professional artist and still have another job?
That's a good question. I think for a short period of time, like a transition period, I think most professional artists sort of segue out of one job and then work their business, get it to the point where it's making enough money that they get to the point where they can't afford to work anymore. And I think that's a good place to be. And so I think for a time being, you might have to hustle for a year, 2 years. But I think long term, I don't think that's a good solution. Yeah. I think you either will neglect one or the other.
Because I just feel like being an artist full time, if that's like you're saying, like you have
the pressure of earning, that's your sole source of income.
Yeah, but I don't know how to put this into words. I just feel like with artists, you just feel so drawn towards your painting, and the more you paint, the better you become. If you neglect it or you're doing other things, it's like there's like a part of you that like doesn't want to do those other things, because if you spend more time painting, you would just get better and better, and you discover more things, and it just helps you grow as a person. So it's like this very addicting lifestyle. And so I think like artists, like the ultimate path is like to be
full-time,
yeah.
Yeah, I think so many people too are taught to like have a fallback plan. Like, what's your plan B? And I think that, what do you guys think about a plan B?
I don't like plan B. I think plan B is exactly as it is. It's plan B. Yeah. And who would want to be a B when you could be an A, Yeah. So I feel like it's almost like preparing for failure, which to me will increase your chances of failure.
Exactly. I really don't like that way of thinking.
Yeah.
Like I try to never think that way.
Yeah. I'm actually trying to think of any moment or time that I think it's appropriate to have a plan B.
Maybe when investing money? I don't know. But I guess in that case, it's more of just like a strategy rather than like a plan, like diversifying.
I feel like if you hedge yourself and prepare just in case this doesn't happen, then we'll do this. Then I feel like you're already setting yourself up for not being as successful as you could be because you've made that preparation. I know when plan B is really important when you're skydiving.
Extreme sports.
Or quadruple.
The backup. Yeah, that's about it when it's life or death.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's a good point. That's the only time it's appropriate, really.
But I'm curious, what do you mean? What would be a plan B when you're skydiving?
Yeah, having a backup parachute.
A backup parachute.
That's it? Okay.
Yeah.
A trampoline at the bottom. I don't know. head for the water.
A squirrel suit on.
A squirrel suit,
Parachute doesn't work. You're like, all right.
Yeah. You got a really long bungee to that airplane. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
That would be terrifying. That would be so bad.
That'd be extremely dangerous.
You would get flung
into the
All right, I think we're in our right brain. Back on track.
Okay. I don't know.
You're just thinking about how much
totally
you want to go bungee jumping now.
Yeah, I really wanted to go while we were in Miami, but they don't have any, basically. I looked all around. So when you're trying to transition I guess let's talk about the transition phase, because I think a lot of people who are watching this, a lot of people who take the mastery program go through a transition phase where they're like, you know, an amateur, and then they have that desire, they have that passion to become a professional. But what would you guys say is the top 3, or if not top 3, the number one most important thing to keep in mind when trying to transition from an amateur to professional?
I think one thing that comes to mind is just having the right mindset about it. And let's say you're still having a 9-to-5 job, or maybe it's a part-time job and you don't like it, and it's just something it's like soul-sucking. You can just think, like you've told people, think of it as like your fake job. It's your pretend job. And like your real job is to be an artist, and that's just like your side job that you're doing. But it's not like you're not thinking of art as your number 2 and like, oh, my passion, I do my hobby and my passion on the side. It's the other way around. You got to like switch your mindset and think that art is number 1. And so eventually it's just, if you keep saying that to yourself, it's going to happen.
Yeah, I have sort of 2 thoughts for it. One, the first thing is just real practical, and that is if you no longer want to be a hobbyist and you really want to be a professional, then this that I'm about to say is non-negotiable. You can no longer ever again only paint when you feel like it.
Totally. I was actually going to say that earlier in the first question when Dimitra was talking about it, but that's exactly
you
true.
Can't be motivated by fun. You know, a hobbyist paints when they feel like it, when they feel inspired. They paint what they want to paint.
It's comfortable.
They paint what's fun. You know, as soon as it gets kind of tough or difficult, you know, they'll switch gears or they'll just stop and do something else. That has to end. And I was just talking to somebody the other day, and they were talking about this subject matter they didn't want to paint. But in order to keep their skills or learn something new, they needed to paint that subject matter. And I was asking them, well, why don't you want to paint that subject matter? And they were like, it's just hard. It's not fun. And I was thinking that is what has to transition. You have to get out of that mindset. And if it's for the greater cause, do it anyway, whether you like it or not. And that's how professionals are in any arena. It doesn't matter what vocation you choose, you're gonna have to do some things you don't want to do. And so and you'll have to paint even if you don't feel like it. And as soon as you start painting in spite of not feeling like it, you'll begin to feel like it and you'll enjoy it. And even if you don't, who cares? You still need to paint. And now I can't remember what was the other thing I was going to say. I know. Maybe it'll come back to me.
Well, just sort of tagging onto that, in Robert Greene's book, Mastery, I think it's that book, but he said something like mastery is like the difference between an amateur and a master is that a master is able to fall in love with boredom, and or is able to conquer boredom or work even when they feel bored. Yeah. So it's like exactly what you're saying.
Yeah,
like,
and every professional artist I know, you make tricks for yourself, you know, to you know, get over those, to overcome boredom.
What's some of your tricks then?
Well, I rarely get, well, no, that's not true. I do get bored. I think I'm really motivated by the end result. And so I when a painting is getting kind of labor intensive and I start to get bored with it and it's like difficult to finish and I just want to start something new and I don't want to like, you know, do that labor part and I'm starting to get bored. I think about, I'll consciously think, all right, I need 6 more hours on this painting and then it will be finished. And I actually put a number of how long it will actually take me. And then it's just like doing a workout. I can just count the numbers. You know, it's the same thing as doing a 2-minute plank, right?
That's
you
good.
just sort of count it down.
I do the same thing actually with paintings that I'm like, oh, when is this going to be done?
Interesting.
Yeah. But if you don't have, if the end is sort of nebulous, you know, and just kind of out there and you don't know when it's going to end, you're like, it feels like forever.
I'm totally going to take that, and I'm going to use that in finishing my flower painting that I have sitting on the
Yeah,
console.
you want that as a like song cover.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
So.
And so that's a great tip.
Another,
and I also love timing stuff. I don't know. I guess it's just something from when I was a kid. My mom used to always time us. Like, she'd be like, all right, you ready?
Timing yourself
Race.
is great.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
She's like, it's a race. See if you could beat your record.
Another thing to keep you like not bored or just, I mean, what helps me is having like lots of paintings going at once. So when you do get bored on one, you can switch to another, and that way you're staying productive. I think the key is to like just think about the future you and like what have like lots of projects going, like knowing you got to know your personality and like at what point of the process you start to get bored or things start to get difficult, and just think of like ahead of time how you can prepare for that moment.
Yeah, that's good advice. We were talking about this the other day on the Zoom call with some students about, you know, it seems like everybody is either like a starter, you know, everybody poops out at some point in the process or struggles. And it's either at the start or the middle or the finish. And some people really struggle finishing things and almost like self-sabotage, like just can't ever complete a task or finish a project. And some people don't ever start projects, or it takes everything in them to start a project because maybe they have like a fear of failure, or like, I'm not fully prepared. I don't have all my materials. I don't really, what if I make a bad painting
that's me
or something?
for sure. Starting is hard.
Yeah. See,
So
starting for me is piece of cake. I love to start.
Yeah, same.
And,
finishing is difficult for me.
I
honestly.
love to finish. I'm like a finisher.
I like
and
to
I'm a
finish
starter.
too.
To me, it's the middle.
Yeah.
It's somewhere in the middle. I get bogged down and tired of it, and like, and then thinking about the finish is what will motivate me. You know, and I have to like think, all right, I really want to get this finished. I hate having lingering projects that are unfinished. I hate that. So the finish motivates me, but somewhere in the middle, I'm like, I
Like
lose
the
my
beginning to the middle.
enthusiasm for it that I had in the beginning.
That's kind of the end for me, because I feel like along the way, like in the beginning and in the middle especially, I feel like, oh, I learned so many things from this, and I'm like so excited to apply that to a new project that I start to like poop out, and I want to just start something new again.
You
Yeah.
don't
And
want
just
to
like
finish it.
Yeah, and so it's like, and honestly, it's with like different mediums too of art, not just like painting, but it's like music. And then I'll start something, and then I'll be like, whoa, that's a cool new technique. And then I'll like look back at the rest of the song, and I'll be like, oh man, I can make something way better than this now. Like after what I just learned, I just want to start something new now.
Gosh.
So it's like it's an issue.
Yeah.
Well, once you know your issues, though,
Yeah.
then you can, like Dimitra said, you can really preemptively set yourself up for success. You know, when you, like, I tell myself every single painting when it hits the ugly stage, and I'm like, ugh, I'm not motivated to paint on this because it's super ugly, and who knows when it'll start to turn, and you know, and I feel that middle bog coming. I just tell myself, this happens to you every time. You know it's going to turn out good. You know it's ugly now, but it won't be later. And I have to kind of like, I think being aware of it is better. But if you're blindsided and you're not aware that, well, that happens to me in every painting pretty much.
So interesting.
You
For
know?
me, like the middle to the end is my favorite part. Like just in the middle, like knowing what it's going to be at the end, like that is the best part for me. It's just the beginning of knowing like if I'm prepared enough or all that.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's different. And so I think as far as, you know, the topic being a professional, like thinking about these things, you know, shooting for excellence, wanting to be your best, you know, really putting a lot of thought and, you know, intention to process and work ethic and progress and, you know, kind of charting things and like, okay, I'm better than I used to be here, but I need improvement there. You know, being willing to really take a hard look at, you know, where your shortcomings are and realize you can change. It just takes a tweaking of habits,
Mm-hmm.
getting information sometimes. Maybe it means reading a book. I think, professionals really have to, in terms of process, be self-motivated.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't be a victim and, make excuses like, I didn't do this because this happened to me. And, but I think just fundamentally knowing that you can just tweak things, pick up a habit, learn something new. You ultimately are empowered because you're in control. You're in control of yourself. You're in control of your schedule. You're in control of your choices. We have the power to succeed and make our choices. So I think just having that mindset is automatically going to shift you. I did remember what I was going to say before.
Okay, what was it?
It's really
That's
important.
so funny.
I know. It's really important though. Like I
That's
think
probably
this is
why.
I think this is the like beginning foundation of all of it
Mm-hmm.
is you got to know your why.
And this,
Yeah.
sorry, just to interrupt real quick for people who might have gotten lost in what this is the second answer to. It's the answer to how to transition from an amateur to a professional.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I don't think that as a hobbyist you necessarily need a why. The why can change painting to painting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try this, and there's no
Mhm.
like long-term objective or goal about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
when you're a professional, there is this long-term goal. You have a career, you have this body of work, you have this legacy you're building, right?
Yeah.
So there's this very long-term objective to it, and so you've got to know your why. Why are you doing it, and how important is it to you? And in the beginning, when you're shifting, from the hobbyist to the professional, I think you have to ask yourself very important questions like, how bad do I want this? What would it take to make me quit? How bad does it have to be? Like, at what point would I actually, is it, if you make those decisions when you're frustrated, then you'll quit every time. But if you sort of ahead of time go, how bad do I want this? And if the answer is, this is my why, I know why I'm doing this, because I it's going to be different for every person, but, let's say you can identify your why, then I think you can also tell yourself, like, there's nothing that can stop me. There's nothing that could dissuade me. There's nothing that would, when you feel strong, when you know
Mhm.
your why, when you have that why right in front of you. And I would say once you know what your why is, you should write it down so you never forget it. And then think about how important is that to you? Is that, one of the most important things in your life? Would you sacrifice everything for that? Would you put up with just about anything for that?
Mhm.
Would you fight for that? Will you really contend for that? Would you persevere? What are you willing to put up with? How many rejections would you deal with
Yeah.
to
Rejection.
still hang on to your why, to still go for it?
Mhm.
And so I think that if you get that in the beginning as you're transitioning and you know what it is and you have it all identified and even written down, you are unstoppable
Yeah.
because
that's
you've
really
already
good.
decided you're not going to quit. You've
Mhm.
already made the decision that no matter what happens,
Mhm.
I'm not going to quit. So there's this real quick story. I know
Oh,
I'm
go
am
for
I
it.
talking a lot? So we have this this coach. I really think she wouldn't mind saying me telling this story. I think she would be, and Michael just did a art talk
Tuesday.
with her. So her name's Ritika, and she went on the Greek trip with us the last time we did a Greek trip, and so we really got to know her. And she's a coach, and she lives in India, and she went through the mastery program, and she did the Dubai art show, and her first time doing it, she made, she would say she made a ton of mistakes. She didn't feel confident in her art. She chose some of the wrong kind of artwork to bring. She didn't like sell it real well. And when she came back from the show, she was super disappointed. She was like on the brink of quitting. She just, didn't think she had she was just really, really in a pit, just felt really, down about it. But she had already decided, when she first got started, sometime in the mastery program, that she's not going to quit, that this is her destiny, this is her life. She had already made that decision. So sure, she was, down in a pit, but at that time, it didn't take much. It was just like, Rita, what's your why? Why are you doing this? And then she's like, yeah, of course. And she did the show again this year, and she sold a bunch of paintings and, had a great show, learned from her mistakes from before. And that's perseverance. That is knowing your why, pushing through, even if you get super discouraged. She did the same show again. I mean, isn't that admirable?
Yeah, that's super cool.
And she went by herself from India to Dubai and
that's
did the whole
inspiring.
show herself. It's really inspiring. And so that's the kind of stuff it takes. And she'll continue to succeed. She'll continue because she knows how to overcome those low spots, and we all have them.
Yeah.
I've had plenty. I wrote a whole book about it.
Wow, yeah, that's such a powerful story. I definitely think that she wouldn't mind you sharing that.
Yeah.
It's super cool, and it's really inspiring. Made me think about like, what's the why, So if you guys don't mind me asking, what is your guys' why for painting?
No.
I was trying to think of it in case you're asking.
My why has grown.
Yeah.
Well, okay, hopefully it comes as I'm talking more, but I think it's like, for me, just being an artist, the whole just process of creating paintings, being in the creative space, like the creative realm in my right brain, it's just, for me, it's like the best place to be, and it's very addicting for me. It's like every time I go there, I don't want to leave it, and then it's frustrating when I can't be there or I don't do it as much as I'd like to. And it's just like, I just have this yearning. It feels like every time I'm painting, I'm just close with God, and I feel like we're really close when we paint. So that's, for me, like, that's kind of the why. And I feel like I'm meant, I don't know how else to explain. I feel like I'm really meant to just stay in that as much as I can. And whatever paintings I'm painting, like, I really think they can change the world.
Yeah, I think my why, when I started, I think my why has shifted over the years. But when I first started, it was, it came when I gave that painting to my dad, and this big macho Greek guy cried when he got the painting. And for me to be able to put something on a canvas that could actually move emotionally somebody like my dad, who didn't seem moved or emotionally by anything, I think that, to me, it felt like something powerful, that I could be a part of something really powerful. And I remember consciously thinking, wow, I want to do that the rest of my life. I want to move people. I want people to be touched and to, be affected. And I think it's just being attracted to the power. I guess I like power.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what
But
you're
it
saying
feels-
resonates with me too.
Yeah, but
like,
it's
Yeah,
like-
it's same. It's
Yeah.
But it's-
transformation. It's the power for transformation.
It is, and
really.
it doesn't feel like it's coming from me. I resonate with what you said. It feels like you're a part of this beautiful romance and this beautiful plan that God has through art to move people and touch people, and we get to be like ambassadors of that, or touch that, or be a part of that. And it feels very powerful to be a part of that and to see that happen and know that that's happening. But I think now my why I think that hasn't changed in creating art and creating a painting, but now I feel like my why behind the school or all of the things I do is bigger, and I see it as like I'm empowering other artists to do that powerful thing. And so it's like, and I remember, you remember Kelsey, that taught some of you guys music and stuff?
Oh, Chelsea.
Yeah. She said one time, I asked her why she wanted to teach, and she said, well, because she's a musician, right? And she said, well, as a musician, I can I can only, maybe if I have a concert with a few hundred people in it or a few thousand people, I can only move 1,000 people. But if I can teach other musicians to move 1,000 people, it's that word.
Exponential.
Exponential, right? And she was
Exponential.
saying it's like when you throw rocks in the water and they make these ripples, and so that's what teaching's like. And it really affected me. I've never forgotten that. And so I see like it multiplies by. So that's my why now. Is I feel like that really motivates me. Is I love the idea of all these artists around the world unified in this cause, to tap into, what God has to say, bring the far things near, harness that abstract whatever out there in right brain land and put it on a canvas.
Yeah.
And then people get transformed by it. And you see it all the time. Art is so transformational and powerful. And yeah, I love that. So that's my why now.
That's cool. But I feel like my why is like pretty similar to that. It's to like empower others, I think, and make people feel like they are powerful in themselves, like that they have the power, whether it's through my art or the music that I make. Like I really like making like powerful feeling music, like music that's not just kind of like frivolous, like lighthearted music, but like music where it's like, oh, it hits you in the chest. Like, whoa, that bass just rocked my heart. Like, or like a powerful image or something like that. But also with like Art Club and this podcast and other things. Like, I mean, just listening to you tell Ritika's story just made me feel like anytime, like it almost gave me a reminder of like something that I can tell myself whenever I don't feel like working. And it's like, who are you to get in the way of these other people's destiny?
Right.
Like, if you don't do it, you might be stopping those people from getting to their destiny.
Yeah.
So like, why? Like, that's what came to me when you said that, or when you were telling that story. So, I'm glad you told it. Wow, that was a good tangent. Okay. I had a couple more questions. So let's see. How are we doing on time? Pretty good. And so for everybody who's watching, just to kind of address the audience again, we are going to be doing a Q&A at the end of this. So, if you have any questions, be thinking of them, write them in the chat on Instagram or on YouTube. Dino will be reading your questions on Instagram, and I'll be checking them out on YouTube. So just make sure you write those out in the chat for us. So anyways, one of my last questions was, you mentioned habits a few times while you're talking. And I was just wondering if you guys have any habits that you feel like are instrumental to being a professional.
Yeah. So for me, it's like one really good habit is to always plan my next paintings. Like when I'm when I'm already like finishing some paintings and I don't know what's next, I have to, start making sources like at least once a week. I just want to plan some paintings and have some ideas going, because when you just get to the end of that, it can be like, for myself, because it's hard to start things. Like exactly. I want to be excited about what I'm going to start. So I have to just constantly like keep that going. And then another habit, I guess this isn't, I don't know how important it is. I guess it's up to the individual, but for me, it's like having a really good morning, like making a really good start to the day. So just having a routine in the morning. For me, it's like making breakfast, eating it with you, and, making a really good coffee and having my studio area clean. Like all that just makes me in a really good mood. And then I feel like really good about starting the day.
So interesting, because it's like both those things, like you said, kind of revolve around starting. Oh, so yeah. It's good. I mean, it's like you prepare yourself for your weakest moments by creating habits that are able to bolster you in those weak moments. You preempt that. So that's good.
I would say some important habits for me are, a good start in the morning, waking up early. I would say for me, it's being intentional about everything, like make a schedule. So my time, I think what I aim to do is control my time instead of have my time control me.
Yeah.
And so that works with like to-do lists, scheduling, figuring out all the things that have to get done in the week, and then blocking out like, what is the most important things, what are the non-negotiables, and making those decisions based on, my purpose or my destiny, not obligations.
Yeah.
And I've made a habit of identifying, it's like I want to declutter my obligation list and keep that down to like a bare minimum.
Yeah. Say no, honestly.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, yeah. And so, anymore, all the things that I really don't need to do that don't pertain to my destiny get nixed. It's just, I'm not going to do them. Or hire out those things, because it's like, or at least get to a point where you can hire them out, make that a priority. I mean, we're kind of been talking about that. Like I'm at the point where I'm ready for a personal assistant.
Okay. I've been thinking the same thing. Like it's
same
for professional artists, like once you want to go to a whole new level, I think having assistants and that's just going to make it
because then you're
10
freed
times
up
more.
of the things that have to get done. They just have to function in life, but they're not the things that I only uniquely can do.
Yeah.
And I want to spend my time on just the things that only I uniquely can do. And there's a lot of things that lots of people can do that I still do.
Yeah.
So, but as far as like habits, I think a really good morning for me, working out in the morning, getting up when I say I'm going to get up, like planning when I wake up and not just like, I'll wake up when I feel like it. Yeah. Or snoozing or anything like that.
It's the worst.
And then I think a habit that might be unique to me. I know you grew up with it. I say it all the time. It's like my mantra. It'll be probably on my tombstone, but it's like,
hold on. Let me guess. I can't. What is it? Start before you're ready.
No,
That's a good one, though.
I've made a habit since I can remember of making my choices from a position of strength and not a position of weakness.
Yep.
Because it's a really important habit. And you would be surprised how many times you end up in this mess and it's all because you just basically took the path of least resistance, or you took what seemed to be easier at the time, or you were afraid to do something. It's subconscious, you don't realize it, but you chose the not plan A, not the best. You didn't choose the best because you were afraid, or you didn't think you could do it, or weren't feeling capable, or fear. Yeah. And I think it's a really good habit to not give the same old culprits, fear, poverty, lack,
being liked,
and what other people think. Voice. Don't give them voice. They shouldn't be making your decisions.
Yeah.
Choosing something from a position of strength is not already assuming that you're going to fail, you're going to be rejected, people think you're stupid, all that stuff that determines your decisions. That's making a decision from a position of weakness. So, and it is a habit, because at first it's not easy, and your thoughts get kind of tangled up, and you can't, because I'll talk to a lot of young people and I'm like, sounds like you're making that decision from a position of weakness because you are worried this will happen. But what if that didn't happen? What if you were to just make the best choice? What if you did have enough money? Well, what if you weren't going to be rejected and you actually will get that thing that you want?
Yeah.
Or whatever, then you would be making a different choice, and they don't even realize it. So I think that if you just make a habit of always doing that, every time you make a decision, just think, is this truly the best decision? And am I making it from a position of strength? Then it just becomes a lifestyle, and you don't necessarily have to work at your decision so much.
Yeah, and you end up in that strong position. You
Yeah.
know, if you make the decisions consistently from a position of strength, then you won't find yourself backed into a corner. And it attracts other people who are doing the same as well. People
Yeah.
like to align themselves with risk takers rather
Mhm.
than, well, at least smart risk takers, not
Yeah.
necessarily just like, you know, balls to the wall, crazy people. But yeah, and I think that's a really important piece of advice is making decisions from position of strength. And I just wanted to add to the part where you're talking about like writing down, like keeping a schedule and tasks and stuff. I feel like just writing down any thoughts that you have really that you feel like, oh, I need to hold on to that. Or like, oh, I don't want to forget that. Anytime you say it to yourself, I don't want to forget this, writing it down, I feel like for me has like freed up my mind and like my creativity a lot. I feel like if you have, your brain, if you think about your brain like a computer almost, obviously we're way more complex than computers, but if you just think about it like computer and RAM, you know, random access memory is what it stands for. You know, computers only have so much RAM. And brains are kind of the same. Like you can only handle so much stuff floating around in your mind at once. So the more you write down, the more you try to offload onto, you know, say writing it down or having a schedule or something like that, the more creativity you can hold and be a conduit of, I think, you know. So
Yeah, that's good advice.
having that offloading habit is really important.
And probably a system for what gets written down where.
Yeah.
Because I write things down all the time, and I do it on notes on my phone.
I have a comment about that.
And I have such a mess in there. And there's like a treasure trove of ideas and stuff. And, you know, you have to actually go through and reorganize them afterwards. But
Well, I told you what you need to do, but...
What is it? Download Notion?
Okay, yeah. So
download what?
A while ago, we were
I need
into
a new phone because I can't download apps.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so stupid. And you might be thinking it's not true. Like I thought, I was like, how can that be true? I was like, no way. And I tried to find her app store. I scrolled down or swiped down. I was like, app store, and it just literally is not there on her phone anymore.
And you can't get it because I tried to download the app store and it says I can't download apps.
Crazy.
I don't.
Yeah.
So what I was gonna say though, I forgot about that.
Let's get a new phone and then.
Yeah. Well, a while ago we were like into Monday.com, which is, I think it's still good, but I think it's better for maybe organizing groups of people or teams.
Yeah, like projects or teams for sure.
But Jake found this app called Notion. I mean, you can talk about it if you want because you were like the one who found it.
Well, yeah, Notion is basically like everything you would ever, like it's everything that you want your notes app on your phone to be, but it isn't. And it's so much more also. It has like, it has everything.
They should use that as a tagline.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's like, but that's what it is, really. I mean, you can organize stuff endlessly, and it's made for people who love folders, but also love more creative ways of organizing too. And it's visual too. Like you can make endless amounts of folders within folders. Not that that's necessarily what you would want to do, but you can also create icons for those folders. You can upload hero images into a specific folder so that, like, you know, you can have it be beautiful, you know, at the same time as functional. You can write code in there. You can do automations in there. You can build tables, do images, and it's completely free unless you want to upload things that are more than 5 megabytes in there. So it's like, it's so cool because even it does so much more than all the other task management platforms that I've ever found. But those all like limit you and like what you can do or want to do. Like say you want to do automations on Monday.com, you can't unless you pay. And same with like Trello, and well, Trello gives you like 1 or 2, but anyways, it's super awesome because it's like, I don't know if you've ever used Evernote, but it's like Evernote, Google Docs, Trello,
like
Asana, all of that, but way better combined into one. Also combined with the ease of like having a functional app on your phone.
Yeah, it feels like you're using notes every time I use it, but it's just, so it's so intuitive. Like you don't have to learn how to use it.
Yeah.
which
And
is what I love about
You know
it.
what's so funny too is like I don't like I try to keep as many apps off of my home screen as possible. So like a lot of my apps I just most of the time when I'm trying to find something I just swipe down and type it now. So I'll be like swipe down, type Notion, and it's like NOT, like notes. So it's like one of the first things that like the two things that come up are notes and Notion when I swipe down, type that in. So
Okay,
just a
so
fun
the
little
app
side
is
note.
called Notion.
Notion. Yeah.
like I have a notion that's going to
Yeah.
help you be more successful.
Yeah.
Not just you, but anyone. So this podcast is sponsored by Notion. Make sure to click the link underneath. No, I'm just kidding. So, okay, the last question. I know we're kind of
Yeah, we
running
should
long.
answer their questions.
Okay, one more question. So get your guys' questions ready. This is the last question I'm going to ask them. It should be really quick. So top
Okay.
3 books for somebody to become a professional artist. Dimitri, you go first because you probably know a little bit more books than you might say the books that
I
she's going to say.
don't read that much. Okay. Well, I mean, I just feel like I'm gonna repeat books that we've probably talked about,
Well,
you know?
but maybe somebody watching this hasn't.
I mean, you mentioned Mastery, which we kind of listened together, and I think that was a really good book. It's really long,
Mastery by
but
Robert Greene.
it's really good,
Mhm.
very inspiring. What was the book that we listened to that had like it was at Mastery where he was talking about like all these successful people and their stories?
Yeah,
and
it's Mastery.
Oh, okay. Turning Pro was a good book, which is
By Stephen Pressfield.
yeah. Third book.
Steal Like Mars.
You like War of Art.
Yeah, I love War of Art, but I just feel like I've
Promoted
mentioned
that
one.
all the time.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think probably all
Every artist should
lots.
read that.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, everyone, even if you're not an artist, it's very, very eye opening.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what about you?
Well, I think there's a lot of good artist books out there for artists, but they haven't been my favorites or the most useful for me to be successful.
Mhm.
So if the goal is to develop professional habits to be a successful professional artist,
Yeah.
then some of those artist books to me are
Almost counterproductive.
yeah, they're almost coddling.
Like art for art's sake. And
Well, they're like, you're sensitive and blah blah blah, and it's like, all right, but you gotta
gotta
But
overcome
War-
boredom.
But War of Art is not that
No,
way.
no.
And that is
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
artists.
Mhm.
Yeah. So the books that I read that really helped me a lot are super old fashioned success books. Like The Magic of Thinking Big.
Yeah, that one's really
yeah,
good.
we listened to that one too.
Any Norman Vincent Peale book's gonna be great.
Never heard of him. I'll have to look that up.
Um,
Norman Vincent Peale.
mhm.
Huh. Okay.
And then How to Win Friends and Influence People, I think builds confidence and helps you overcome worrying about what other people think about you. I think that, 7 Habits,
Of highly effective people.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a real good one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like I read just lots of like leadership books,
Yeah.
success books, and I can't remember the titles of all of them. One of them was called like Wisdom Keys or something like that, and
that's
it
cool.
was a lot about just things that really build integrity. And it isn't so much having integrity necessarily for others, but for yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you're a confident person and you just have this knowing, this deep knowing that you're capable, you can succeed, you will succeed, that if you just really put your effort into things and you consistently work at something, you're going to be successful. If you can get there, if you can get to that place, you're great. You're already there.
Yeah, you
know?
have the winning mentality.
You have the winning mentality. But so many people, struggle with getting to that place. And so I think these success books will really help you, get to that place where you have that inner confidence and knowing that it just takes, consistent and persistent work and work ethic, having goals, having integrity, being really honest with yourself. So I read, when I was in my 20s, I probably read 50 or more like self-help success books.
Yeah.
All the salesman books, all the you know, and they work, you know, and I feel like that's what's given me my base or my foundation for how I am.
Yeah, those books are really good. Magic. I haven't read all of How to Win Friends and Influence People because I got the audiobook and it was just like the guy's voice. I mean, just a tip to everyone out there. If you ever, I mean, you probably already do this, but make sure you sample the audiobook first because I didn't, and the guy's voice was just awful. I can't listen to it.
But, you know what we found, or you found recently, but we've been listening to together. We listen to a lot of books together in the car.
When we drive, yeah.
But what was it called? Blink?
It's an app.
Blinkist.
It's called Blinkist.
Oh, Blinkist.
And then they have blinks of different books. So you can listen to the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People distilled down into like 20 minutes
it's my kind of
blinks.
books.
And it's really good. And, you know, Elijah actually, just for those of you who don't know, he's one of the co-owners of the school. But we were talking about this Russian billionaire guy he watched a video of him talking about a YouTube video of him talking about like how he reads and like reading effectively rather than just, you know, reading for reading's sake. And he said that like he has all these different notes and stuff. And I don't know if this is necessarily pertinent to the conversation, but he takes notes of all these things in the books so that when he goes back, it's like he categorizes all these different notes. He has a system of taking notes where it's the food groups, and he has like you need a certain amount of like protein. You need a certain amount of vegetables. This is fruit. This is just sweet stuff. This is like comedy. It's like salt or, you know, whatever. And then he's like all the rest of the stuff is still necessary. It's like water. So anyways, all that is just to say that Blinkist is like all of the essential foods without the water of the book. So Blinkist is pretty cool. I like it a lot. It's like a yearly subscription or a monthly subscription. And they have a lot of different books on there, mostly just self-help books. Motivational. But
they say that they can tell, you know, where you're going to be based on the last 5 books you read, you know.
Interesting.
And so yeah, and I've heard people
that's cool.
say, you know, I mean, in the old days when all you had was printed books, right? I mean, this wouldn't apply now, but you know, if you want to see where somebody's at in their life, you know, you just go to their house and look at their bookshelf. So reading books is really, and when we say reading books, we understand that
consuming
books.
Yeah.
It really is a big part. I don't think there's probably one super successful person out there that has not read a bunch of books.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And I don't mean, you know, Harry Potter. I mean, you know, like nonfiction.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm totally with you on like nonfiction's more important to read, but I still do think some fiction books have like really good nuggets of leadership or
I'm
truth.
not putting down reading books.
No,
Also, it helps you in your imagination.
Yeah.
Like I know for me, like when I was younger, reading all those books, it like, I don't know, like you
movie
really
in your
get,
head. It's like, but better.
Yeah,
like,
it's really cool.
like that was when I read. I've been on the same kick, like just reading nonfiction. But I mean, you guys know this. I picked up Dune not too long ago, and I could not put that book down. It was like bad, and I actually haven't read the rest of them because it was like
you'll be addicted.
It's so like I couldn't put it down when I picked it up. So
yeah.
But anyways, my 3 books that I would really recommend, and we're about to get to the questions in just a minute, are Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babinson, I think is his name. And then if you want to read another one by Jocko Willink, it's Leadership Strategies and Tactics. That's a really good one too.
Is that the one I read?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's a good one.
Extreme Ownership's almost more about yourself, like it's introspective, and Leadership Strategy and Tactics, it's also about yourself, but it's kind of with like a group of people and how you interact with others too. So that's almost like once you get to that next level, like I would start with Extreme Ownership for yourself, and then once you're leading a team, then Leadership Strategies and Tactics is like the book you would want to read. And then another book I just finished, not that I necessarily support, well, I'm not going to say that, but I just finished Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, the creator of Nike, and very inspiring. Just all of the hardships battling Adidas and everything that went into the creation of the biggest shoe brand out there is really inspiring. And then the last book, probably Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. That book is so short and so easy and digestible that it just was like, it changed how I viewed making art for sure.
Oh yeah,
And it was
breaks
just,
a lot of
It
boxes.
demystifies.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's instrumental.
Okay. So questions.
Yes.
Questions. All right. Dino, do we have any questions on Instagram? I'm going to go to YouTube right now on my phone so that I can.
Go ahead.
Claire Lou Carey is wondering if you had to pick 10 colors, what would they be?
That's a good question. 10 colors.
The rainbow.
I'm assuming she means 10 artist colors, but like oil paint colors.
Well,
Probably.
I would pick cad yellow medium,
We're gonna have such different colors.
cad yellow light, and then I would choose or cad lemon yellow. I would get it cooler, so cad yellow lemon, and then I would choose cad red medium, alizarin crimson, and then I would choose so that's 4, ultramarine blue, and then Prussian blue. So that takes care of warm and cool of the primaries. And then I would add cad orange. And then I would add a warm, so that's 7.
You should have your fingers
I
out.
know.
I'm like, I'm gonna
titanium
go-
white. You gotta have
Okay.
titanium
Yeah,
white.
you have to.
Okay, mine's gonna be very
And
different.
then
You'd rather have titanium white than radium white? Oh, because fast drying.
yeah, and then I would probably choose a warm purple and a cool purple. So dioxazine purple, and then a warm purple like that middle violet.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then I used up my 10.
Okay, I'm gonna try to do this fast. Okay, so I would do radiant white. I would do radiant blue, ultramarine blue, quinacra opera, pink. Let's see. Brown pink by Gamblin. That's like one of my favorite, juiciest colors.
That's like your signature color. It's like is it like the dirty pink kind of?
It's brown pink. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah,
It's
but
what it's
how are you
called.
going to mix colors without like?
So I got blues, purples, whites, pinks. Then I would choose, let's see, gold ochre. These are all warm so far.
okay, in
I would
other
choose
words, don't listen to
I would
Dimitra if you're
choose
only going to buy 10
alizarin.
tubes of paint.
Alizarin crimson, okay? Then I would choose that transparent yellow, that's cool, by Rembrandt. I don't even know what it's called. Transparent yellow. And then I would choose,
You still don't have a cool blue.
yeah, okay, I would choose phthalo green shade.
Phthalo blue,
Phthalo blue
green,
green
shade.
shade. That's
Yeah.
what I meant. Yeah, because that's the cool version of phthalo blue. And then, let's see, for 10th, I would
How are
probably
you
do
gonna make a purple?
radiant violet. I use a lot of pastels.
Well, she would
and-
be able to mix the phthalo blue green shade with the alizarin crimson.
Yeah.
That's
But
not going to
it's
get
not.
you a.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do it all the time.
Yeah,
I
but it won't
create.
get you a
It's
big
like almost
purple.
like a black, like a really rich.
Yeah, but I mean, your guys is
Yeah, our palettes are
Art-
different.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like you can dull down intense colors, but you can't amp up muted colors. So but I can mute any color. So
That's why I chose the brightest ones.
they're not the brightest.
Yeah, I did. Okay.
Okay, there are a
next
few really good
question. Yeah.
questions on YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's Arlene White Swan's mysterious domain wants to know what is the difference between striving for excellence and perfectionism. So
That's a great.
That's like a
question.
whole podcast
Man.
Okay,
topic
we
right
Maybe
should
there.
that
do
should
that as
be
a
our
podcast.
next
Yeah.
That's a
one.
very good question.
Oh my gosh.
Well, so I would say it goes back to making your decisions from a position of strength.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So if you are making your decisions from a position of strength,
So
you're
true.
going to go for excellence.
Mhm.
If you are making them from a position of weakness, then I would say you're becoming a perfectionist.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which is
that and
you're
it-
afraid.
yeah, because you're motivated a lot by not measuring up or fear or
Mhm.
what others might think, or your past failures, or are you capable enough? But it stems from some sort of, kind of negative thing that would cause, and control.
Yeah.
I think control is at the base of perfectionism, whereas what's at the base of striving for excellence is sort of being your best self without sacrificing, without it being like hard on yourself, or like a detriment to yourself. And excellence, I think, is a long game, and perfectionism is a short game.
Yeah.
It's in that one task you're doing, whereas excellence is a cumulative over all that you do.
Yeah,
It's
that's a
building
great
good
answer.
habits.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I hope that helps, Arlene. Help me. Okay. Let's see. So Raven Burns Kushner wants to know, what's the best way to transcend fear in old conventional thinking when transitioning from a 9-to-5 to a full-time artist? And how long should the transition realistically take? It's a great question.
I think you would answer that better because
I've done
you've
it.
lived that. Yeah.
Well, the first part about transitioning or overcoming fear.
Yeah, so transcend fear in old conventional thinking when transitioning from a 9-to-5 to a full-time artist.
Well, I think every person alive, if you're transitioning out of a 9-to-5 job into a full-time professional artist, is going to encounter fear.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really normal. And I think courage is stepping forward in spite of being afraid. And so just don't give in to the fear, and basically face your fear and do the thing that you're afraid of. Just do it anyway. I know that sounds easier said than done, but really there's no other way. Like, there's no other way. Like, being afraid is normal. You have to overcome it by just pushing through it and doing it anyway. Kind of like that time you threw me off the cliff.
Oh my
Threw her off a
gosh.
cliff.
What an exaggeration.
I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't actually push her.
But, similar. You just have to do it. Like, there was I had to jump, There was, or sit up there for, 2 weeks.
Or climb back down, which is even more perilous.
That's like, not, yeah. And then what was the second part of the question?
It was how long should the transition?
How long should the transition be? I think that totally depends on, if you're young and you don't have a lot of financial obligations and it doesn't require a lot, it's going to be easier.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not that hard. I mean, just to be blunt, it's not that hard for somebody to make,
ends meet.
Huh?
Ends meet is
to make like $3,000 a month from the sale of their art. That is not that hard. And a lot of people could live off of that. There's some people that couldn't. And so for those people, it's
it also depends on where you live too.
It depends on where you live. So it's hard to answer that question. So the best way I could answer it is just like, it really depends. You have to think about how many paintings do you need to sell? What is your price worked at? What are the prices of your paintings? How many per month are you going to have to sell in order to make that up? Do you have multiple streams of income? Meaning, can you create a bunch of, cheaper things like sketches or, paper pieces or small miniatures? How much inventory do you actually have? And, can you make prints? Can you sell products? Are you willing to do like tent shows? If you're willing to hustle like that and do multiple tent shows, or art fair type shows, local shows, meanwhile have your artwork in a bunch of different, restaurants, galleries, cafes, get your work out there. If you're willing to do all that and get it out there in all these multiple streams, if all you're counting on is posting and selling something off your website, it's not as realistic in the beginning to build that precedent of sales. I think you got to get out there in every avenue you possibly can, and you got to be prepared to hustle. And if you are, and you have a lot of things lined up, like we were just talking with Bree, that's how she did it. You know, it didn't require, she didn't need a ton of money to be able to do it, right? She doesn't have kids. She's young, you know, and her husband works. But she was able to transition out of, she worked full time before, right?
Yeah.
But she hustles. She goes to all kinds of shows. She's constantly showing her work and getting it out there. She doesn't just kind of sit and wait. So I think it just depends. But it could take anywhere from like immediate, like a month to 2 years, depending on how
much obligation,
how much money you need and what kind of strategy are you building and how serious you are and how much work you're doing.
Also, I remember Bree for a short time, or maybe she's still doing it, I don't know. She did like these painting and wine classes. And so that's like, I mean, you still are having fun while teaching other people. You still get to paint. And so that's like another little side transition thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe she just does it part-time. But, I mean, you still get to do what you love in a just in a different way. So.
Yeah, there's little side income. Some people can like scale their hours down, you know, and work part-time for a while to help supplement. So everybody's situation is different.
Okay, so Anna's Originals wants to know, can your why be simply that you love it and that there's nothing else I could do forever and be content?
I think she's getting, you know, it's like go a little deeper. Why do you love it?
Yeah.
You know, why do you love it? It could be like Dimitra answered that, and she said the reason she loves it. She had the same why, right? But she went a little deeper and said the reason she loves it is because she really feels like she connects with God. It's her happy place. She can't imagine life without it. But really, the deeper answer was connecting with God.
Yeah.
And she felt like she's meant to do this. There's
a purpose.
There's a God-driven purpose behind it. So I would say, you know, that might be the same for her, or it might be totally different. But answer the question, like, why do you love it? And if the answer is, well, I love the feeling of it when I do it. Okay, why? What is that
kind
feeling?
of feelings? Yeah.
Yeah. What are those feelings? Where do they come from? Why do you have them? Like, you know.
Well, that was a good last question to end on.
Yeah.
And it's been the longest podcast yet, but a really fun podcast to talk about. It was a great topic. So if you guys enjoy this, share it with somebody who you think would benefit from hearing from this. So thank you guys so much for listening, though. We hope that you guys join us next week and that you guys like this video. So if you do, you know, like and subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.